Good morning and welcome to the Infrastructure Commission meeting. I'd like to warmly welcome Lloyd McMillan from Temuka, John McDonald from Pheasant Point, and Janine Evans from Building. Thank you for attending. Apologies, I have apologies from Councillor Burt and Councillor Oliver. Move them. Thank you. Second, Councillor Gilchrist. Thank you. Identifications of urgent business. Nor of matters of a minor nature. Any declarations of conflicts of interest? Chairman's report. Since our last standing meeting, I have attended the long-term plan council meeting, attended the Timaru Airport annual management review, Downlands joint standing committees meeting, attenders and improvements, the RNE Stadium Trust meeting, council meeting, the Temuka Community Board meeting, and a TDHR workshop. I'm going to move my report. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is confirmation of our minutes on the 2nd of February. Thank you, Councillor Rowan and Councillor Gilchrist, all in favour? Aye. Okay, we'll move on to our first report, 7.1, which is My Way Timuru's Public Transport Service Update. I'd like to welcome Judith and Isabel from ECAN, who's joined us. Hi, Jeremy and Stuart, welcome. I'll take the report as read and I'll hand it over to Isabel.
Thanks for having us today. Jeremy and Stuart in the involves passenger transport Edinburgh and Canterbury get on this presentation. Apparently I've got control, so I don't know things I can do. So they'll lead through that presentation once we get up. You might give me the nod.
Sorry, Jude, I think you're a bit patchy down the far away from the screen here, but I think you've thrown to us, have you?
We're just waiting for the presentation to load. It's not quite ready.
Okay. Well, if I just apologies from our councillors that are both otherwise engaged. They couldn't be here today, but there's the presentation. The intent of this presentation is to give councillors an update on where the trial's at, and also to an opportunity, a brief summary of the LTP consultation that's underway, our preferred option, and opportunity for questions and comments on that. So it looks like the presentation's working now, is that correct? Yep. So Joanne, are you driving that for us?
Judith.
You are, Judith. Okay, cool. Right. So for those that haven't met us, Stuart's next to me is the General Manager of Public Transport and Environment Canterbury, and I'm the Manager of Commercials and Innovation, PD. If we could move on to the pilot update slide. And we can just hit the high points of what's been happening over the last couple of 3 months. So as I think you'll be aware, we've recently extended the both NZTA and Environment Canterbury Council have approved the extension of the trial until the 22nd of October 2021. And that was based on the impact of COVID, or the interruption of COVID, meaning that we couldn't fully test the trial service and understand as much as we wanted to before making a decision on the future of the My Way service. Nonetheless, over the last 6 months, we have been pulling levers. We have been engaging with the community to understand what works for them and to try and deliver a really customer-centric service. And we're really happy with the patronage of the My Way service, or the network as a whole, but predominantly the My Way service. And at the moment, well, it has been up until February, a 15% increase on this time last year, which, when compared to the rest of the country, it's an excellent outcome. Actually, we're really happy with that. So Christchurch, as a comparison, is at about 75% patronage of this time last year. Obviously impacted by COVID. So despite COVID, people are engaging with the My Way service. The numbers have been slightly down in February, which we suspect is to do with the need for mandatory masks. Well, passengers have told us that the need for masks on public transport are turning them away at the moment. So we're working with NZTA on that. Feedback is really high, so average rating of 4.8 out of 5 from passengers. We've got circa 1,000 users using the service on a monthly basis, and 5,000 registered users now. Many of you will be aware of some of the changes we've made recently. Increased hours on Friday and Saturday evenings. We've begun the service at 6:30 on weekday mornings to try and make the service more accessible to workers going to their workplaces. And we've recently integrated the Timaru Link service into the My Way application, so that if you're booking users in My Way application, it'll present the link as an option for you as well. And we've got some upcoming enhancements. We're going to provide a driveway service for total mobility users, so to increase accessibility for them. So that'll make the service cheaper for total mobility users if they can use the service. And we're also about to engage with the public with some research in Timaru as to how the service is going for them. So, as I said, we're based on patronage, customer feedback, and in comparison to what's happening around New Zealand, we're really happy with the service to date. And if you want to go to the next slide, Jude, you can see, I'm not sure how that's coming across, but this gives a sense for how the My Way service, which is the dark red line, is comparing to other networks across the country at the moment. We're in really good stead. Is the quick summary of that. I don't think we need to go any further. Jude, if you want to click on to the next slide around access. So 2 slides around the accessibility of the service. The first one gives you a sense where people are coming to, going from and going to. And there's the Timaru Link service to give a bit of context. And if you go to the next slide, Jude, this slide shows that same information, but overlaid against where the previous bus catchment. So that orange or that peachy coloured area is within 500 metres walk of all the previous bus stops. So assuming passengers are able to walk up to 500 metres to get to a bus stop, that's the coverage of the previous network. And those stops that are outside of that area are where people weren't able to use public transport, or greater than 500 metres walk from public transport previously. So, and it's approximately a 17% increase in access to public transport across Timaru. So that's a good outcome from our perspective. If you want to put slides, Jude, we late last year we ran as we do each year, we ran our Metro user survey for Timaru, and we've just in the next 2 slides pulled out some information from that, a high level of the information. We asked customers their perception of My Way compared to the Timaru Link service, and that first slide gives a pretty glowing reference from customers' perspective of how they perceive the My Way service. So this survey was only of public transport users, and both My Way and Link users. And as you can see, they 86% strongly agree that the My Way service has made it easier for them to use public transport, and 74% strongly agree that it's better than the traditional public transport service. And if you go to the next slide, which is a little bit more information, thanks Jude. This slide here compares the My Way service in blue with the Link service in yellow against the key elements we measure for customer satisfaction. On the right hand side, we have the results for 2019, so 77, 57, 68, but the bar graph are the results for 2020. So you can see that the My Way service is higher on all ratings, apart from the ease of getting on and off the vehicle. It's slightly lower, and we suspect that's because we did have some challenges early on with some of the doors on our vehicles, which we've rectified and made electric. So those challenges don't exist, and possibly because the smaller vehicles are LDVs and not super low floor, the super low floor Mercedes. But overall, the feedback we're getting from customers via all of our channels is that the My Way service is valued, more valuable than the fixed route service. And our view, we're really positive about it. Isabel's on the ground, hearing that feedback from the community, and we're proposing, one of the options we're proposing in the LTP is that the service stays. So if you want to switch to the next slide, please, Jude, which I think should say option 1, permanent My Way. So this is our council's preferred option, that we maintain the My Way service as it is, that we continue to explore ways to make it customer centric, fit for purpose for the Timaru community, and that has a rating impact increase of $14 per $100,000 capital value, which you'll have see via in our consultation document. If this is adopted by our council, then the service would continue. And as I said, we'd look for opportunities to continue to make it more customer centric. And then in 2022, we'd run a procurement exercise with the aim of locking in a contract for a reasonable length of time that's going to make the service more cost efficient and give certainty to it from an operator's perspective to deliver the service. I don't know if anyone's got any questions before I go to the option 2. Should I keep going? Let's keep going. So option 2 is, if you can bring that up, Jude, is not running the My Way service, so discontinuation of the My Way service. That is not our council's preferred option at this time. Obviously, we'd go through a community consultation process, so we're actively asking the community what their view is and seeking feedback by various channels. If this isn't adopted, this would mean that we would, although the trial at this stage is extended into October this year, we would most likely, we would essentially run out of community approved funding from July this year. And so we would look at shortening, ending the trial before October, but with enough time to transition without impacting the community significantly. We'd return to the previous fixed route service at that time, and then we'd look to run a consultation with the community around, okay, well, what does a fit for purpose public transport service look like in Timaru? Based on, we'd present some options there. Based on the feedback on those options, a decision would be made by council, and then we would start a procurement process and engage for the delivery of whatever the new solution was for public transport in Timaru. But it would be a fixed return to the fixed route service. It's highly likely that it wouldn't be as frequent or with the same level of coverage as the current service. but that's presupposing. I don't want to presuppose what the community would say in that circumstance. And that would all be implemented at the end of 2022 at the earliest. So it's a bit of work. There would be a bit of work to get to that stage. That's it. So the aim is to give. The aim has been to give you a quick update on service as it is, and many of you will be aware of it. You'll have used the service, you'll have had feedback on it, but importantly to present the two options and how those are likely to play out, depending on how they land. Open to questions.
I'll go to Councillor Wills.
Through you, Madam Chair. Jeremy, thank you for the presentation. Very insightful. I suppose I just got a couple of questions, and the first one was reading the Timaru article around my way bus links, and I suppose there's some commentary there, almost coming back on the Timaru District Council, concerned that there was a real risk of next to no public transport being provided in Timaru at all. My way service doesn't get voted in, so that made me very nervous, because I suppose now looking at some of the other options available, you're going to review it in around August and October, and you have got some contingency plans which are in place, which I'm pleased to see. But I'm also wondering, what is our overall cost impact currently at the moment for the service being delivered? And can you split that down to what is the ECAN part of the cost, and also the real cost of the Timaru District Council as well?
So I think your question is, just repeating it back because it sounds not perfect, but your question is, what is the real cost of the delivery of the service? What portion is ECANs and what's the TDC? That's correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So the cost of Timaru District, there's no cost to Timaru District Council for the delivery of the service. Timaru District Council pays for the infrastructure only. So on an ongoing basis, and with a My Way service, there's limited infrastructure. So sorry, when I say there's no cost, there are infrastructure costs which are minimal at this stage, and Andrew could speak to what those are. The bulk of the cost is the delivery of the service, and that's at the moment it's circa $2 million to deliver the service, or $2.1 million to deliver the full service. Environment Canterbury pays 49% of the fair revenue shortfall, and NZTA pay the other 51%.
Fantastic, thank you. Appreciate it.
Councillor Peter.
It's always good when you can use numbers in your favour. I think to say it's $14 per 100,000 capital value. So what average value did you put on capital value so the ratepayer actually knows what they're up for? Come up with this.
Yes, look, sorry, I don't have that figure at the moment. The exact capital value in Timaru. I know the number of rateable households, and so I could. Yes, I mean, but TDC will have the capital value. You'll be going through the same process for the rating of your rating process.
I guess everyone. My Way is a great service, not everyone uses it. But my calculation is about $65 per household on their average rates bill, which I guess will be interesting to see what split feedback you get. And with My Way, is it across just the Timaru boundary ratepayers, or are you charging Geraldine, Temuka and outlying areas as well? Is it a targeted rate?
It's a targeted rate for Timaru. So we're not charging Geraldine or anywhere outside of the Timaru city.
Thank you.
Neville.
Thanks. Thank you. Look, in the past, probably a question So fare box recovery has been a key sort of measure, and obviously it's increased service, so potentially fare box recovery hasn't increased it. Is that still an important measure?
Actually, I think Jeremy might be in a better position to answer.
Yes, so the fare box recovery remains important, but it's not the only, and that was one of the drivers initially. Well, there was low engagement, decreasing engagement in public transport, and therefore decreasing fare box recovery. Since that, so it remains important. It's about 15% fare box recovery at the moment. It was about 20% fare box recovery, but since the Labor government's accessibility is a key factor in the public transport, well, in the transport strategy in general, from the Labor current government, and so they've moved fare revenue is important to them, but accessibility and well-being is also important to them, more so than previous government. So there's a heavy focus on that, and the increase in patronage and accessibility is one of the lenses that and a significant lens we're putting through the success of this project.
Well, thank you.
Councillor Booth.
I've got a couple of questions. I guess one probably was on in regards to obviously the gold card, and do you get any sort of compensation or pence from central government for offering that service while they dictate that you have to provide that service? Are they subsidising your offering any funds and assistance to provide that service? It's very well saying you've got to do this, but there's dollars and cents involved. So I would hope that you would just accept that without sharing getting you some money. I guess it's very similar service to a taxi, and to start off at $2 and then $2 an increase to $2.50 per fare, I said anywhere is seemed incredibly cheap. And you might think something perhaps a little bit bolder, and where you're limited to what you're about to charge for that public service.
So to answer your first question about Gold Card, yes, NZTA do, they pay us a lump sum based on card usage. I don't know the exact figure for the pay us a lump sum as they do for Christchurch, and it's based on actual Gold Card passenger numbers and kilometres travelled. So they do subsidise what they require of us. And asked you a question about the taxi service. So we were very aware of that coming in, and our intent was never to provide a subsidised taxi service. Public transport. Key parameters of a public transport service is that it is a shared service, which the My Way service is, which is different to a taxi service. It's it's not a door-to-door service, so it goes to specific stops. Now the My Way service is a corner-to-corner service. Sometimes and we've got virtual stops all around the city, and sometimes those stops will be closer to you, and they may be outside people's houses, but that's that is just the nature of the service. It's not designed to be a door-to-door service, so our intent is that, well, it's not a taxi service. It's a shared public transport service aimed at improving accessibility and providing accessibility for the community. So we started at a $2 fare intentionally because the project itself is it's a behaviour change project where we're looking to engage with the community to get them on board with a new way of trialling the service. So to start at a price point that was going to be too much of a barrier to the community, we thought that would actually hobble the service before it started. The current fixed route service is $1.65 for passengers in Timaru. So we did start over that, but at a figure we thought wouldn't be a barrier to entry for customers. We had a look at the service circa 4 months in and thought, right, we think, and we actually engaged with the community and asked feedback on price points, and we changed the service price to $2.50 based on that. We have explored other options, including distance-based pricing, but we haven't made any decision to activate those, just based on the complexity of doing that. And the price point feels, at the moment, it feels about right based on the engagement feedback we've had from customers and the engagement levels. When we raised the price to $2.50, the engagement with the service remained about the same. So we are trying to obviously balance the fact that this is a more convenient service with the fact that it is a service for public good, providing transport for the transport disadvantaged as well.
So I guess on a basis. I mean, that would mean that they need to give you probably another $18 per pickup per person, based on the numbers you've just given us. You're recouping around 200,000. It's costing $2 million. So surely there's a way of putting that pressure back onto the government. I mean, they will, through social welfare and through different and also there's almost a business case for some sort of collaboration with their local taxi firms to offer a service similar to what we're offering now, but then get subsidy.
Yeah, sorry, I missed. I'm not sure. It was a bit patchy then on the connection, but I think the point you made was there's an opportunity for wider collaboration with central government and with the taxi industry, which I mean we're continuing to explore opportunities. We are definitely engaging with NZTA on this and other collaboration without going into too much detail, but if we go to market if the service continues and we go to market in 2022, then we will be engaging with the market around what the service might look like, and if taxi companies are interested in responding to deliver the service, and they'll be able to respond to deliver the service. Yeah, and we did it. We proactively engaged with them when we did the trial, when we started the trial, I think in 2019, I'm trying to remember, yeah, 2019, we actually proactively engaged with Taxi Federation and said, this is coming, are you interested? But they didn't respond. So I mean, we did all that we felt that we could on those grounds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Councillor Wills.
Hi, Jeremy, Councillor Wills. This is a two-part question, but the first part is, prior to my way, what's the cost of this bus service to operate?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Prior to my way, what did it cost?
Oh, prior to my way, it's about 1.1 million.
Sorry, how much?
1 million.
Okay, so let's say, for example, we didn't go ahead with the, or ECAN didn't go ahead with my way. And then we had to look at readjusting everything because there's real concern that it may not reinstate to its previous level. Has there been any cost analysis done about how much that would cost if we had to go through? Because there's whole education base around re-engagement with community as well. So we've done a cost analysis. If we had to go back to the old system,
we have a pretty reasonable idea of what the cost is to revert to the old system. Recognise because we know the hours, we know the kilometres, we know the vehicles, so we've got a pretty good sense of what that looks like. Yes, so part of that would also be that they're engaging with the community to say, well, here's some options. It would look like this. The rating impact is going to be this. What do you think, community? But we've got enough information to do that but what we haven't done is designed alternate options from frequency and coverage perspective, because we're not at that point yet.
that's great. Thank you very much.
Councillor Pennington.
Sorry, just following on Councillor Bird's comment, what's the average subsidy per ride on the figures at the moment?
The average subsidy per ride, I don't have it right to me, but you could, I think it was circa $11 per ride.
So at $11 per ride, are we delivering it in the most efficient manner? Because it seems a big loss per ride when you're only taking up Alan's point, charging $2.50.
Well, there's no easy answer to are we delivering in. We've got some modelling because we could increase in terms of efficiency. It's the costs of the service. What's the revenue of the service? Are there other ways to generate revenue? We're exploring those avenues. We think if we increase the fares, then it's going to be a barrier to entry for members of the public. We're continually working on the efficiency of the service in terms of, because cost drivers are things such as the number of the vehicles, kilometres travelled, hours worked. So we're continually working on to make the service more efficient from a running perspective, and looking at alternate ways. I think later this month we're putting some advertising on the back of some of the buses as a way to generate more revenue to help offset the cost of running the service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Mayor Bowen.
So I just wanted to comment, I think it's really interesting conversation. I mean, most of the services that we offer are subsidised in some shape or form. The key things for me around this is the ageing population and what service around accessibility, for all, whether it's one with a pram or someone with, walker, I think it's really important. So, although a really good conversation around value and how this provide this, it's ultimately what we want, for our ratepayers or taxpayers. I've always been of the view that, if something wasn't proactively done, we're likely to, lose public transport, or certainly the service, and it would be a shame to, step backwards and, go back to possibly a link service that is, increasing its capacity to deliver. So I think, the next few months is going to be really interesting insightful what the public has to say. So, yeah, look, I thank you for the conversation, and the reality is these conversations are hard when it comes to one group subsidising another, but ultimately we have to look at the big picture and understand what we want for the district. So thank you, and I really enjoyed the presentation. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you. Councillor Gilchrist.
Thank you. Hey, thanks, Jeremy. It's really interesting. I'm a bit of a fan of Byway. Would it be fair to say that if all the councillors took it upon themselves to encourage the public to use Byway more, we'd achieve efficiencies just by having more people using the service? And maybe if we used it ourselves and role model that behaviour of using public transport has huge benefits for climate change, whole 9 yards.
So yes, it would. I mean, the more people using the service, the more efficient it is. And we, and likewise, Environment Canterbury using the service down in Christchurch, we are exploring what it might look like to have or to trial electric vehicles on the service as well to reduce environmental impacts. So that is on our roadmap, but it's in discovery phase at the moment because we don't want to walk before we can run with our decision on the future of the service happening in June this year.
Thanks very much. Pass over to Group Manager.
Yeah, just a couple of points, I guess, here. This service is about trying to take behaviour with that energy and how we actually access transport. We are very reliant on still are on quite big. This is an opportunity to make that transport, which is, I take comes to the point is building benefit climate change. In regards to the subsidy side of things, I think we'll move over and speaking to New South Wales Transport and over there. The Sydney metro system only covers 20% through bills, and they think that's great. They were subsidised 5% there, so that's because the whole service is no different. There's subsidy get on prescriptions. That's being accessible to all of our community, and particularly those who are transport.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Ken. I'm a big fan of my way. I enjoy being in the public transport advisory group and from the conception of here through to the consultation and implementation of the trial. It's a great process to be part of. Increasing accessibility to transport to enable our community to be more connected is so important. From our teenagers to our geriatrics, we all have transport needs, and my ways definitely helping people meet their transportation needs. So I would like to move that we receive this report, and I will second it in favour. Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving to thank you, Jeremy and Joel.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, 7.2, moving on to the progress report for pipeline, groundlands, upgrade, Winchester, Durham, roundabout, road construction, and the 3 stimulus program, Welcome, Lily, and Selwyn, and Ashley. I can't forget. Ashley to the table. I think the report's read. Oh, and Susie. Welcome, Susie. All right. I'll hand it over to the experts at the table.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It gives us great pleasure to be able to produce a number of progress reports. We've got the project champions rectifiers generally here, and then we'll make some comments at the end.
Thank you.
So the first one is the stimulus package, which comes under my managership. So as you're aware, we have 14 physical work projects, and you'll see at the bottom of the first page that 9 of those are the procurement is completed. So we lit tenders, we negotiated contracts, and so on. Designs substantially completed before 12, so that's another 3 on top of the 9. And we've got 2 that are still in the gestation phase. So the requirement of the MOU with the government is that all projects must be started by the 31st of March, which is a fortnight from now. And as you can see, they're all effectively started. I know in contract 3 times being completed. So we've started all of those. And so we're going to be able to report to central government in April, as we are required to do, that we commence. So things are looking really good, and you've got the detail on the second page of the project with an indication of a range of the dollars and the status of each one of those. Can we take questions on that one before we move on?
Okay.
Okay, the second one on our list is for Susie to report to. Your pass machine.
So the Winchester Jewellery Roundabout's progressing really well. You've got the update here with some nice aerial photography. But we've actually had some very issues around. We've actually got it's called the pavement construction starting. So we've got the gravel coming in. And later next week, we're hoping to see the first stages of the structural asphalt being installed. So it's really starting to come together now. So we're about a week in which is absolutely brilliant. And it's all going very well. So any questions you might have on that one?
I've used it recently out to Jordan and back, and it is progressing marvellously and so quickly as well. Yeah, it should be really good. So,
yes, we should be still on completion for May. Tracking well for May.
Could I suggest, Madam Chair, while the microphone's over here, that you go to the last report we've got on, and this is a new one for this reporting round, that we've got road construction projects. We because you will have seen in here a couple of projects have dropped off. We've all dropped off, and that we are bringing a few more on, and this new for this time, and we'll carry on with this because there's a number of fronts where we're doing road reconstruction at any one time. And Susie has put this one together and is able to talk about that.
Yeah, so you'll see that throughout the year we have kind of amalgamated a few different budgets for those works. So the total budget expenditure for these projects listed in both completed and ongoing, it's just under $6 million there. Our tracking expenditure is going well. We do obviously have some high value cost projects nearing completion now, like the roundabout. We start to spend a lot more money. And we've also got the Aurora Gate Road seal extension, and we've got Muff Road, we're doing some work out there, and also all road upgrades. There's definitely plenty of work going on out there, and we're also planning obviously for the next year, or actually the next 3 years with the projects for this that road reconstruction, some of which we include in our maintenance contract, others we go out to go. So hopefully there's a bit of information here. If you've got any questions, Caroline.
Councillor Booth.
Are these the real numbers, or can we expect to be through procurement reduce those numbers?
No, so these are real figures. These are based on our current procurement that we have done through, that have worked through. I suppose of note worth mentioning is that we've currently got our maintenance contract out to tender for the next 5+2 years, which is also again includes more capital works. So there's potential for savings, but we won't know until we work through that process. But yeah, this is for these projects. That's our expected expenditure. Yeah.
Thanks, Susie. Next up, we have, I think the next one is the Downlands project, and Selwyn is project sponsor for these, and he will talk through.
So for the update, as you see in the page one, there's 5 projects. 6 projects that in that is to be completed, carried out. All the 6 projects already been awarded to contractor to commence the work. So pretty much the full design is completed. Now it's just a matter of monitoring and construction of the work of all the 6 projects in mind. So yeah, they are all in progress now. So the one that progress the most with these are the channel wide intake out removals, the raw water reservoir. Those 2 are needed to be completed by the end of June, July, because the water treatment plant will be commencing to be starting to operational, and the raw water reservoir will be in June, July. This way the raw water reservoir will start to fill this pond to prepare for the commissioning of the water treatment plant. In terms of the pipeline, the stage 1 where everyone is planning the work is in progress now. It's going to carry out the work. They already done the temporary key, so they're going to line the work. this month and up to June. After June, then they will replace the Davidson Road to Taiko. That was a stimulus funded project. Otherwise, any questions, please? Any questions? In conclusion,
Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair. Looks like a good report. Thank you very much. And just could I ask you to please distribute that report around to the community members? We appreciate it. But it's really great that we're on this journey now, and there's physically things happening. And, it's reached a very interesting stage.
So after the span of 2 years, we would expect a very reduced water leakages in the trunkway, which we always suffered. We're not able to deliver the water. So after 2 years, the treatment plants operational, the state operational, they will should be a very, very good methods provide a lot of access to water in the house.
And Councillor Wright, exactly right. The reports, once they've been adopted by the committee, we use them on our website, we send them out to the committee, and this one here is the basis for a newsletter that our comms people send to all consumers. And so we're using the reports for several purposes. So the next one we have is the Tararua pipeline, and Sal can bring an update on that.
So the Tararua pipeline section 1 was awarded last year. So this is progressing the work quite program. Section 3 just awarded to OSMI Earthmoving. They're intending to start program work for procurement material in 1st of May. We just completed negotiation. Cabinet Budget has given a proposal for Tararua pipeline section 2. As per the procurement team that we have a meeting on the 24th of November to direct negotiate alternative lining methodology. We have a proposal from Cabinet Budget. The tender report is already being produced. It's now getting ready to be authorized, and hopefully the tender meeting will be able to review the report and accept if there's no issue, we should accept the recommendation. But yeah, that pretty much we already done on the design. It's about to award section 2, the last bit, and the last bit of the section. And any questions? So this project, this pipeline is also the same as Downland. We will spend in 2 years. This financial year and the next financial year will be completed for the pipeline to be operational, to provide water to Clement.
Thanks, Sal. So that is the reports to your committee, Madam Chair, and that general question.
Councillor Riley.
Yeah, thanks. Just progress on the pipeline. Yeah, it started from the Tararua one. How just Julie, how far down the road are they?
Currently, how far down the road? They already done about a kilometer. I think 1 or 2 kilometers already. Yeah, that's sort of the pipe. Yeah, but because I did not end up because they have 2 crews working both sides, so I did not get up the total. As I said, 2 or 3 kilometers.
And so, of course, there is pipe that is welded and it's a trench excavator that has not been incorporated in the worksheet. So it's all progress.
If you do went on site, the pipe is being currently welded for the contractor to lay on the ground. So it's a long stick length of pipe on both ground pipe that's been welded for that. So that's about, if I was not mistaken, the contractor says already welded 6 kilometers of pipe length welded.
Move on.
Yeah, look, just comment. Thank you. The updates to the Downs Committee have been really valuable. So listening through it last couple of days, and probably a good story for the media to pick up, because that's some significant works going on there, and some really, quite an impressive construction projects. So we're really cool with the work that's been done.
And that brings me to conclude the comment if I may, Madam Chair, is we're in liaison with contractors, our 4 biggest contractors that are doing the most work for us. We're in monthly catch-ups with those contractors, so this is as current as it is. And just 2 weeks ago, when we met with them, all contractors in this room, and we got an update from them. And as of that week, and it's continuing last week, we have actually 35 excavators working on our projects. So they're right throughout the district. They're in the Mackenzie district on the Downlands market. But because you don't see them all at one place at one time, you don't get an appreciation of the size of the work program that is being carried out. But 35 excavators working for us today. And it's yeah, it gives you some idea of the scale of the work that's actually being carried out.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I will move this report as received and noted. Thank you, Mr. Lyon. All in favour? Close the meeting at 10.